Hello Year 7 and welcome back to our final lesson of the week. Today we are going to be looking back over the two poems we've looked at this week and comparing their attitudes and their approach to childhood. So as a quick reminder, these are the two poems we've looked at. I will read them through for you once so that you can hear them again, but please pause the video and have a read through of them yourselves just to refresh your memory. Praise Song for My Mother. You were water to me, deep and bold and fathoming. You were moon's eye to me, pull and grained and mantling. You were sunrise to me, rise and warm and streaming. You were the fish's red gill to me, the flame tree's spread to me, the crab's leg, the fried plantain's smelt, replenishing. Go to your wide futures, you said. Follower. My father worked with a horse-plough. His shoulders globed like a full sail strung between the shafts in the furrow. The horse strained at his clicking tongue. An expert. He would set the wing and fit the bright steel-pointed sock. The sod rolled over without breaking. At the head rig, with a single pluck of reins, the sweating team turned round and back into the land. His eye narrowed and angled at the ground, mapping the furrow exactly. I stumbled in his hobnailed wake, fell sometimes on the polished sod. Sometimes he rode me on his back, dipping and rising to his plod. I wanted to grow up and plough, to close one eye, stiffen my arm. All I ever did was follow in his broad shadow round the farm. I was a nuisance, tripping, falling, yapping always. But today it is my father who keeps stumbling behind me and will not go away. So the first thing we'd like you to do is have a look at these images on this slide and see if you can find a line from either of those poems that will match the image you have got in front of you. If you can do that nice and easily, fantastic. Can you explain why you have chosen that image and that line to go together? Both the poems we've looked at show a child expressing their admiration for their parent. What we'd like you to do is have a look at both of those poems and complete this T-chart by finding lines of each poem that show the admiration the speaker has for their parent. So the speaker in both of these cases is in the persona of the child. Make sure you note down why each line you've chosen shows the admiration that they have. Is it the imagery they've used? Perhaps it's the connotation of a particular word or the tone of the line in general. So they might have an impressed tone or they might have a grateful tone to the line. I've done one for you in Praise Song for My Mother. I chose You Were Water to Me. This metaphor shows that the speaker sees their mother as vital to keeping them alive, just like water. The positive connotation of purity that we have with water also shows how the speaker admires her mother. Okay, so it's just a couple of sentences explaining why I've chosen that quote. You will notice down on the side that we have got three boxes. Pick the appropriate box for your comfort level and your challenge level and have a go. So if you choose the orange box, you are aiming to find 2 lines from each poem and explain them fully. If you choose the green box, which is where I would expect most people, especially Grammar Stream, to be starting, do 4 lines for each poem. And then finally, if you're really going to challenge yourself and you've got the time and you think you can do it, go for 6 lines from each poem and have a go. Make sure you are writing in full sentences and make sure that you are explaining your ideas. I would like to know why you think certain things. Okay, quick questions. Again, like Ms. MacArthur said the other day, probably thinking, yeah, right, miss, but it is good alliteration, which is one of our techniques that we looked at the other day, so it's important. Have a go at these 3 questions. Start with the open circles like we did before and work your way up to the arrow. You will notice that I have given you an example for one of the diamond questions, which means this is the kind of thing I am after. So where I say explain its effect, I chose the image, his eye narrowed and angled at the ground, from follower. This shows that the father was concentrating on ploughing and doing his job well. It also suggests that his son was watching him closely because he was able to notice that his eye narrowed and angled and looked towards the ground. And it shows us how much he wants to emulate, imitate or act like his father. So just a couple of sentences, but I would like to make sure it's nice and fully explained. If you are aiming to reach the arrow question and you get to that point, really have a think about that, because it's quite a complex idea and the complex feeling of being haunting. So have a look back and see how you feel. So you've now looked at 2 poems which express admiration. What we'd like to do now is have a go at writing your own. It doesn't need to be for a parent necessarily. It could be for a different family member, a sister, a brother, a grandparent. It could be for a neighbour or a family friend that you have, or even a famous person that has impacted your life in some way. Choose the appropriate box to tell you which poetic techniques you absolutely need to include. Grammar stream, like I've said on the slide, I would expect you at least to be choosing the green box, but please don't be afraid to challenge yourselves, push yourselves and have a go. Once you have written your poem, doesn't need to be long, a couple of stanzas, so a couple of poetic paragraphs, and then once you've done that and you've included your metaphor, your simile, your alliteration, your imagery, whichever box it is you've chosen, highlight and underline the techniques that you have used and explain why you have chosen to use each one. So what does it represent in your poem? So just like you have done with Praise Song for My Mother and with Follower, have a go at explaining the poetic choices you have made. So finally, can you summarise the main message of each poem that we've looked at in no more than 5 words? So you've got Praise Song for My Mother and Follower. Have a go at picking out 5 keywords that would summarise the main message of that poem. Enjoy your weekend and I will see you next week.